Hey, Laura. You're back home.
I'm so glad to be home.
Oh, yeah, I bet
It's never nice though, so it's all sunny in your plant room, eh?
Yeah, I haven't been in there today.
Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. My wife is back from her symposium in Toronto. So life is back to normal here in the Bonsai Zone. Today I'm going to be working on my Ficus microcarpa. And not only am I working on it, but I'm going to be super detailing it. I'm going to be looking at the structure of all the branches and the roots and sorting them all out to get the tree in order for the growing season this summer. For the past 2 years, I've just been doing a umbrella style profile pruning to the tree. Just kind of pruning the canopy to the outside shape, not really worrying about the branch structure that's underneath. I'll be removing all the leaves off the tree, and then I'll go in and look at this branch structure that's formed underneath the canopy, keeping the branches that I like that are growing in good directions, and pruning out the ones that are kind of crisscrossed and are all tangled. So yeah, just to improve the structure of the tree and get it on track for this growing season. I'll be doing the same for the bottom of the tree for the root structure. I'll bare root the tree, keep all the roots that I like and that are growing in a good direction, and I'll remove all the roots that are tangled and crossed and ones that are getting too thick. So that'll set up the root structure for this summer for the growing season. In part 1 of this video, I was pruning the top canopy to an umbrella type shape, getting rid of all the long shoots that were sticking out, ones that were growing with too much vigor. So I've got a little bit more to do on that. There's some long branches sticking out the back of the tree that I'll prune off. And then we'll get out the scissors and defoliate it. So this coming up in the Bonsai Zone. Julie from Kansas, USA sent me this really cool misting bottle. I'll show you how it works. It was just a gift, and she really liked the Mars project because she's a chemist. And she also sent me some Osage orange seeds, so I'll be planting those in spring. So thanks, Julie. I really appreciate it. So let's show you this mister. It puts a really fine mist out. It's really cool. See that? It's just a pump action. It's perfect for little tiny forests or for just like misting your roots. It just puts out enough of a fine spray to kind of mist everything nicely. And it's not too heavy that it disturbs your soil or anything. It's just really cool. There's a little bug walking around. Guess he likes the rain. Yeah, really cool mister. Really like that. Thanks, Julie. I thought I'd just recap on the umbrella shape to the tree. In nature, the sun rises in the east, so the sun's down low, so this would be the east side of the tree. So branches on this side of the tree get light in the morning, and then the sun goes across the sky. It comes up to the top and everything gets sunlight, and then it sets in the west over here. So all the leaves on this side of the tree get sunshine, so it forms this umbrella type shape above the tree. The branches to the front and the back of the tree, they don't get any low light, so you don't get as many branches sticking out to the front or the back of the tree. They're mostly to the left and right hand side, or the east and west. So that kind of gives you the umbrella shaped tree you see in nature. It's all formed by the sun. The plant grows its branches, and the branches that grow to the sun grow more vigorous. And the ones front and back, they don't get any low light, so all the growth is up top. So you kind of get a sparse front and back to the tree and a fuller left and right hand side. So that kind of gives you that, from the top view, it's sort of an oval shaped, being longer to the front and side. Kind of like the shape of these oval bonsai pots. So if you imagine that shape on top of your tree, if you're looking straight down at it, that's how most trees, if they're in a field by themselves in nature, that's how the canopy forms. I'll turn the tree around now so you can see the back of it. And you can see the long branches that are sticking out the back here that need to be pruned back to that umbrella style canopy. Okay, I'll start pruning these branches back to my profile, picking leaves that are facing towards the outside of the tree to here. These clippings, normally I try and grow them as cuttings, but because they had spider mites on them, I'm just going to put them in a plastic bag, chuck them outside in the cold weather. That'll kill all the spider mites. I don't want them to spread in this plant room, so it's best just to bag them up and get rid of them. So there's a couple more branches I can just prune back here. They're just kind of sticking out of this profile a bit. The next step will be to defoliate the tree. You only defoliate a tree if it's really healthy and vigorous. And this tree is. Even though it had a bit of spider mites on it, most of the branches don't have anything. All the leaves are green. It's got a full canopy. It's been getting sun the last couple of days, so it's just ready to grow. So I'll defoliate it. It shouldn't hurt the tree at all. Just remove the leaves one by one. And again, all these leaves I'll collect in a plastic bag and just chuck them outside into the cold. These ficus trees have latex sap, so if you're allergic to latex, definitely wear gloves. I've never noticed any reactions that happened to me, so I think I'm okay for now anyway. But yeah, if you have any allergies, you definitely want to wear gloves while doing this, because this white sap will drip eventually all over the place. So I just leave a bit of the leaf stalk on the tree so you can see where it was when you're pruning. Kind of gives you a guide to where the leaves were. You'll notice with this hedge type pruning that some of the weaker branches on the inside, they don't get much light and they start to weaken and die off. There's a couple of skinny branches here that are very fragile, almost dead. And that happens in nature. You actually want that to happen. You don't want a lot of fine branching growing in the interior of the canopy. You want it to grow on the outside of the canopy. So just don't be alarmed if, some weaker shoots and that start dying off in the interior of your tree. While you're leaf pruning the tree, you can be studying the structure of it. You can be looking at the branches and kind of giving a rough idea of maybe what course of action you're going to take with the pruning. You can also be looking for insects, scale insects, aphids, mealybugs, everything. Spider mites. If you see them, you know you've got to spray. I use soap and water. I use a 40 parts water to 1 part soap mixture. And that seems to work on pretty well everything. Now I do recommend you test it on your trees beforehand. Some trees, like the poinsettia, react really badly to soap and water. The leaves just curl up that day almost and fall off. It just kills the leaves. So you can, however, dilute it even more to maybe an 80 parts water to 1 part soap. And that should be okay for trees like poinsettias. But yeah, just test it on your tree. Test your mixture out. Make sure it's not too strong for the leaves. These waxy ficus leaves can take a lot. They're not very fragile leaves, which is good in a bonsai. So you can already see some of the structure of the tree now with the front defoliated. I'm getting some ideas for pruning too. I'm kind of taking a look at it and saying, oh yeah, that branch is not doing so well, or in the wrong position. So yeah, it's coming along. You're starting to reveal the structure of the tree. I've got most of the leaves off the front of the tree and the sides, so I'll turn the tree around now and start working on the back. I'm down to the very last leaf at the very top of the tree here, and the leaf pruning is done. I finished defoliating the tree. It took just over an hour, and now I can see the structure of the tree clearly. So I'll go in and attack the biggest problems first and work my way down to the smaller ones. So here's a look at the upper canopy, and you can see that one thick trunk going up there. Right back here. Yeah, it's very thick compared to all the rest. And it has its aerial root. Right in here you can see it coming off that trunk. I want to keep that aerial root. It goes all the way down. If we come around here, you can see it better. It comes off that branch, works its way down the tree, kind of twists around over here and kind of wraps itself around the tree. So it's kind of a nice aerial root. It's a nice feature. So, but that top branch definitely has to be cut back. You can see it starts here and it just shoots straight up. It does have some nice structure at the top, but I'm going to shorten it to just above that point where the aerial root comes out. And it'll be sort of a secondary crown to the tree. So the main trunk comes up and then it kind of starts subdividing here. But I also want that big thick trunk at the back to be a fork. So it divides from 1 to 2 here, and then it'll divide further as it grows new branches after the pruning. So my first job will be to cut that thick branch off and just above that aerial root somewhere. So keeping it short. So it'll develop new branches in the future and it'll have movement. I'll develop the new branches towards the back of the tree. So it kind of forms a nice crown on the top of the tree. I've turned the tree around so you can see that trunk at the back here coming right up to the top. So I'm going to go in and prune it, and this will just be sort of a Hail Mary cut. Something will sprout out of it. So I'm going to prune it off here. So, you know, just a bit above that aerial root so it won't die back or anything. So I'm going to go right to here. And I'm just going to make a flat cut and see what happens. So here I go. Just like that. Now there is another aerial root holding it in place here. If I turn the tree around again. Ah, yes. So there's an aerial root coming down the front here and wrapping around. I think I'll just have to remove that aerial root. It's kind of a funny root anyway. It comes from that trunk and comes forward around this branch or this trunk, and it kind of wraps around the back. It's kind of an odd looking root. I do like the roots that kind of just hang straight down, or the ones that kind of grip the trunk like these ones, but ones that kind of wander around, I'm not so keen on those. So I'm going to cut it here like that, and now I can get the top of the tree off. So there's that piece that I cut off. It's a fairly big piece. That would make a really good cutting. I will try and keep that. I'll try and root it as a cutting. The top of the tree now has a fairly even density. It doesn't have that one strong trunk sticking up that kind of looked out of place, so that's much better. I'll peel the rest of that aerial root away. With that strong trunk removed, I can see that I could prune the overall height of the tree down. There's a lot of skinny, whippy branches reaching up to the sky here. You know, quite straight, with no change of direction, no taper, and no branching. So it could be reduced down in height, probably at least to maybe here. So I'm going to give it a profile pruning again now, and kind of get that umbrella shape in, but lower down. Okay, so here I go with the pruning. So I'll start up here, and I can always prune it shorter. That's a thick one. So I'm just cutting through everything. Just to reduce the overall height down. I'll come around the back here so I can see it a little more easily. I'm going to come out front and see how that height looks to me and the curvature. I want to get that nice shape, umbrella shape, so I'll come out front and have a look at it. I'm looking out front now, and I think the heights could still come down a bit to maybe, it's right there now, so maybe down to about there, and maybe a little more curvature to about somewhere around there. Yeah. So I'll keep pruning away here. So I'm standing back having a look again. It's a little lopsided. I got to take more off this side. So I'll do that. I'll have a look at that from the front now. A little more curvature, especially over this side. Here's a view of the tree now after pruning, and I think it looks a lot better. I took the height down a lot lower than I would have if I still had the leaves on the tree. With the leaves on the tree, I couldn't see the bare structure of it, so I would have never reduced that upper structure down as much. And I think it looks a lot better right now. I think that upper structure is more compact. When it leaves out again, it'll get more branching, more density. It'll have a nicer shape to the tree. So I'm really happy that I defoliated it and have given it another profile prune. So next, I'll have to go in and do a detailed prune, removing all the crossing branches and branches that just aren't growing in a nice direction. So this is the front view profile, and I think it's looking good. But I will rotate the tree around sideways, and we'll check the profile, the curvature in the side view. So I'll do that now. So there's the side view profile, and you can see that needs a bit of tweaking too. It's sticking up a little high here. That curvature isn't that good. We want it flatter in this view, but you can see what I need to prune there. So I'm going to do that. You're looking at the side view of the tree, so I'm going to clean that curvature up. And remember, I was explaining earlier about the sun, how it comes from the east across the tree and sets in the west. So you would get more curvature and more of a fuller curve from east to west on the tree, which is side to side, left and right, than you would on the front and the back of the tree. So because the sun doesn't come around the front of the tree, it doesn't come around the back of the tree, it's going to be a fairly flat profile in this view. So just a slight curve is what I'm after. So I'll kind of correct some of that. I'm back to the front view of the tree. So now I'm going to go in and do my branch selection. You can see some of the areas are getting quite crowded, and that's just because it needs cleaning up. There's a branch here that divides from 1 into 3. So yeah, I'll just go in with each branch and start cleaning up the structure. I've got my branch pruners here. So I'm going to take off this little one back here. There's a bit of an aerial root that started growing out there. There's a branch growing up the inside of the tree here. I'll get rid of that. Like that. There's an old stub here that I can clean up. Like that. I have, this branch comes up. There's this thin branch coming up this direction. This direction's nice. Right above it I have a thicker branch. And it's sort of cluttered in this area. I've got to clean it up. And my general rule is prune off the thickest ones to keep the fine branching in this upper canopy. So I'm going to get rid of this thick branch here. That's gone. I'll just clean that pruning point up a bit more. Like that. This branch is divided from 1 into 3, so I'll remove this one which isn't flowing so nicely. Keep all the branches that have a nice flowing direction. This one, I think it's okay. You want all your major branches to flow outwards from the center of the tree, but towards the crown you need something to fill it in. So I think that's where this branch comes in. It kind of fills that structure in a bit. So I'll leave that one for now. Another one I can clean up back here. Like that. There's a branch growing in towards the center of the tree here that I can remove. Like that. Bit of cleanup work here. Everything else is looking quite good on that branch. This branch is sorted out. This one, we'll come to this branch up front here now. It needs a bit of sorting out. I've got a vertical sprout here that doesn't look very good, so I'm going to remove that. Like that. I'm dividing from 1 to 2 here. I got a branch that crosses in front of this other branch and it grows in a weird spot here, so that's going to go. Like that. I've got a branch growing, kind of interfering with the next branch here. I'll remove that little one. I think I'll remove this inside one. I have a branch growing the same place above it here. So I think this one has to go. It's interfering with this part of this branch, so yeah, that's got to come off like that. That way the branches aren't interfering with each other. Just going to prune this a little shorter here. Like that. This branch here, it's growing underneath this one. So I'm thinking, I think I'll redirect it, so I'll prune it off here to this bud, like that. Okay, so that's got all this part of the tree pruned up, and this part, and this part. So this main, I don't know what I'd call it, the first major branch on the right hand side of the tree has all been pruned up. I do have a weak branch growing here. Oh, it's dead. Okay. I thought it was dead. It just broke off. So yeah, everything else is looking good on that. I've gone around all the branches on the rest of the tree, pruning them up similar to the pattern I did on this branch. Just cleaning up the structure, cleaning up old pruning cuts and tidying it up, cleaning out any dead branches. So the tree is all pruned up now. You don't want to rush the process of pruning the tree. You only get to see it bare like this, you know, once every 2 or 3 years. So you kind of have to make the most of it. You know, really study the structure, really look at each branch, prune it up, and kind of, you know, imagine it growing again in spring. It'll just start filling out again. So yeah, you want to correct, you're trying to correct the skeleton of the tree or the bare structure, getting that pleasing. So yeah, just don't rush it. Just take your time. As I said, you don't get too many opportunities to see a bare tree like this for a tropical tree, so you've got to take advantage of that. I'll rotate it around a bit so you can see kind of the 3D structure of it. I think the combination of profile style pruning and going in and pruning up each branch individually to make it flow nicely has created a really natural looking tree structure. There's a lot of branches in here that, you know, if I were to draw a tree, I just wouldn't place them there, but that's where they've grown. So it gives that natural look. It certainly doesn't look artificial. There's, you know, branches crisscrossing, and yeah, it has that natural randomness to it that it doesn't look like it was planned by a human being. So I'm really happy with the structure of the tree. I think it still looks flowing. For a clip and grow tree, it doesn't look angular and zigzagging kind of back and forth. I think it flows nicely. So I think, you know, I started this tree from a seed 26 years ago, and it's really nice to see it developing, and it's come a long way in just the last 5 years since I started this channel. So I'm really happy with the development of the tree, and I can see it in another 5 years. It'll just hopefully keep looking better. I finished working on the upper part of the tree. In part 3 of this series, I'll be repotting the tree. I'll be taking it out of this pot, bare rooting it, and sorting out the root structure. So I hope you join me for part 3. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me today in the Bonsai Zone.